I had grown up in the 60s, which was that great time when The Wizard of Oz was shown once a year, and we all remember that in the way that millennials and even Gen Xers don't really remember that. It was hard to get once a year in black and white. And it became important to our generation, I think, maybe uniquely so. So when I was 9 years old, I saw it in what was called the White Edition, which is not the Beatles album, but it was a beautiful edition put out in the 60s. And some of you may remember this especially from your grade school libraries. Beautiful 14 books of all of the Wizard of Oz books. And of course, being a kid, I saw that there was a second book. I said, wow, there's a sequel to this book. So I popped it open, and being 9 years old, I skimmed right to the end. And I was kind of blown away by the ending, but that is coming to the point. So I finally made an opera out of this because this story has haunted me for so long, and I have felt that it has not been done justice. So I have tried. So what I'm going to do first is what I call the super text of the story. It is the story and it isn't. I'll explain, because I'm sure you would like to hear a little of this. So here we go. Once upon a time, in the marvelous land of Oz, there was a boy named Tip who played in the fields and wandered through the beautiful hills. Tip lived with the last wicked witch in Oz, the evil witch, Mombi. One day, mischief overcame Tip, and he decided to build a man out of wood and a pumpkin head to frighten Mombi. He sang as he built the pumpkin-headed man. I am Tip, a boy, a man I shall be one day, I know for sure. I'll be so strong, no one can wrong my heart, my soul, my life. Tip set up Jack Pumpkinhead. When Mombi came around a corner, she bumped into the wooden man. Knowing it was a prank, she pulled a box out of her pocket and began pouring its contents over the figure, casting a spell. Powder of life, powder of truth, bring forth being from non-being. Power of life, power of truth, bring forth being from non-being. For the inanimate, life forsooth. For the enchanted, their true form seeing. And then Jack came to life. After Tip put Jack away in the stable, the boy went into the kitchen. There Mombi punished him for his prank. When the witch had gone to bed, the youth took Mombi's magical powder out of a cabinet. Stopping to release Jack from the stable, the pair ran away from home and headed into the land of Oz. Now, I got to ask this question. Do you remember who the wizard left in charge when he floated away on his balloon?
Dorothy.
Who again?
Dorothy.
Nope. Nope.
Oh, no, Scarecrow.
Scarecrow. Yes. Okay. The pair, Jack and Tip, followed a yellow brick road to Emerald City. There, they met King Scarecrow. Scarecrow looked at Jack, made from magic, just like he was. Then the Scarecrow remembered how he had been brought to life. It was when a girl from Kansas first looked at him on his pole, and he sang, "Dorothy, Dorothy, you are the one who makes my heart sing. When you appeared, all that I feared was gone. That was the day we ran away to Oz." But the Scarecrow missed an old friend. And so the new friends visited the Tin Man's Tin Castle. The Tin Man said, "Scarecrow, you old straw dog." And the Scarecrow replied, "Better than being a tin can man." Meanwhile, the evil witch Mombi, now in Emerald City, wanted to stop Tip, so she conjured a river. The heroes managed to cross, but the Tin Man rusted. Through the rust, he thought he saw Nimmy Ammi kneeling above him. A girl who had loved him only when he had been human. Nimmy, Nimmy Ammi, you are dear to me, for I loved you and you cared for me. I was lost. You found me. Too late. I was gone. Fade away from the light. After Tip used the oil can on the Tin Man, the friends went to visit the good witch, Glinda, to get rid of the evil witch and help Glinda find the true ruler of Oz. And so Glinda and the friends captured Mombi. Mombi led them to where she kept Princess Ozma sleeping in a cave. Mombi refused to awaken her. But Tip, enchanted by the sleeping girl, pulled the magic powder out of his pocket and poured it over the princess, which awakened her. Then, with Mombi defeated, they all went back to Emerald City with Princess Ozma. And so the Scarecrow crowned her Queen of Oz. I hereby bequeath the true crown of Oz to the one true ruler of Oz, Queen Ozma. And everybody in Oz sang to their new queen. She is Ozma, we are Oz. We were lost, we are found, our souls will shine through the light, our light. And everybody in Oz lived happily ever after. Thank you. Okay, so that's the story. You can all go home now. But this is an experiment, which is why I'm glad you're a small group of people who are friendly to me. They lived happily ever after. Or did they? You see, there's a subtext to what I just played, and you saw that little painting of Tip and Ozma up there. I know it keeps going black. So this little subtext that I have written, this one actually comes after, the closest I can say it starts after Dorothy, Dorothy. Let's put it that way. It's a whole nother scene, another place. The infant princess cried. Alone. Her mother, the fairy queen, had faded from Oz with the other fairies. Then a man, a wizard of Oz, came into the room. He said, "Don't cry, little one. Your mother taught me this. For you." For you are my child, my only heart. To me you sing your song. I once had a baby, she lay in my crib, and then I was gone one day. You were my child, you were my baby. You were my heart and my soul. The infant Ozma lay on the dirty kitchen table. Mombi, brandishing her wand, hovered over her. "Ha, princess, we shall see who rules Oz. Females have all the power here. Most men are useless." Therefore, you can no longer be a girl. Ozma Tipitarius, you shall be Tip! Tip sat in the dusk, having milked the four-horned cow. As he watched the great pinwheel sun sink below the horizon, the boy became aware of a sound he had never heard before, of music. A woman was singing to her infant in the house next door. And Tip listened, transfixed. Little one, my tiny son, you are mine and I am yours. Every day, in every way, I love you so. For I am you, and you are me. Come, my little one, and I will sing my song to you. Glinda, her army, and the friends set up tents outside the gates of Emerald City. Mombi magically switched bodies with a girl named Jellia Jam and sent the girl before Glinda, disguised as Mombi. Glinda, deducing the truth, intoned, Mombi, thou art Jellia, come forth, Mombi, which caused the witch to switch back to her own body, held on either side in the powerful grip of the Scarecrow and the Tin Man. The witch was interrogated by Glinda. What did you do with Princess Ozma? Defeated, Mombi declared, I enchanted her. Then she pointed to Tip. He is the Princess Ozma. Me? I'm no princess. I'm a boy. But Glinda interrupted. Fairies, they are here. And the exquisite creatures surrounded Tip. The child closed his eyes, fear and longing cresting in him. When he opened them again, he found himself alone in the tent with Glinda. Then Glinda said, Tip, you do not have to do this. You are free to do what you want to do. And Tip answered, Am I Tip? I don't know who I am anymore. Am I And then, throwing his arms wide, I am Oz. Glinda asked, Ozma, dear Ozma, are you all right? Tip replied, yes, answering to her real name. And now the spirit of Oz answered Ozma. Fair my princess, fair my lady, you are the one who rules me. In your bower, my lovely queen, you now become who you are meant to be. For you are here, safe and secure. You are near, so dear to me. You are fair, and in your hair it is there where I find thee. Oh, my princess, oh, my lady, you are here forever more. A tent was set up in a field, separate from all others. Glinda's royal couch was placed inside. Then all gathered around it. Tip asked, Glinda, why can't you remove the spell? I am sorry, my dear child, but only the caster of this spell can remove it. And so Tip lay on the couch, helped there by the gentle hands of the Scarecrow and the Tin Man. The Tin Man said, you know, becoming a girl could be a new experience. Might just be like me getting a new heart. It should be an adventure, my boy. And he turned away, embarrassed. Then all departed, except Mombi and the youth. Pouring the powder of truth over Tip, Mombi undid her spell, chanting, powder of life, powder of truth. Bring forth being from non-being. Powder of life, powder of truth. Bring forth being from non-being. For the inanimate, life forsooth. For the enchanted, their true form see. and the witch collapsed as though she were melting away, as the luminescent truth hung in the air. Tip remembered Mombi's abuse. Ozma remembered her brutal transformation into Tip. But the light all around comforted them. Princess Ozma stepped from the tent into the fields of Oz and the loving gazes of all her friends. Thank you. And so that's the real story. They intermingle. Obviously, everything is in the original here. So basically, the story comes full circle because you remember how it started with nature and Oz and all that good stuff, and it ends with nature. Well, it doesn't end, but her emergence it takes place in the fields and nature of Oz. And this part right here is the Oz problem. Some people don't think it's a problem, and I appreciate your patience with it, Boo. But I'm telling you, and I've said it before, I have several male friends, good male friends, that I purposely did not invite here today because, frankly, testosterone is what is killing our planet. Rampant testosterone is what is killing our planet. Not that I'm a peacenik or anything. I'm as macho as the next guy. I like cigars, and I love my lady friend, Karen. I'm cisgendered. I adore women. Maybe that's why I'm like this. But so is L.Frank Baum. He coached baseball. He played Santa for his kids. He was married to the love of his life for 40 years. He was the great American storyteller, and yet he told this story. Well, so, how do I describe the Oz problem in the context of history? The book was written in 1904, 3 years after The Wizard of Oz, the first book, was published. Now, Baum had been struggling for many years to find something successful to do before The Wizard of Oz. And he went around, he did a lot of stuff. He was a theater person. He actually went to Aberdeen, South Dakota. I might mention that later. He started something called Baum's Bazaar, this was the Wild West, 1880s, South Dakota. He started a chinoiserie shop full of beautiful things, the Wild West. He was a very imaginative person, sort of like Walt Disney, just somebody who gave a lot, who loved children. So then he wrote The Great American Fairy Tale in 1900, which we all know. So a year after this seminal book was written, it became a very popular stage show. And the first of a long line of scarecrows and tin men became very famous. I can't remember their names, but they became as famous as Bolger and that other guy in his day. Good reviews, all kinds of things. So here was L.Frank Baum, 1902, on top of the world. He knew he had to write a sequel. Right? That's just the thing. Of course, it would have been very easy to have written another story about Dorothy coming to Oz, this time, returning to Oz. And sure enough, in the ensuing decades, many have rewritten Baum's sequel to focus on Dorothy. You might remember the 1985 movie Return to Oz, which actually shocked some people because Dorothy went through electroshock therapy, and they were trying to modernize it, but they chickened out. And they put Ozma as a girl behind a mirror who had to get out of a mirror enchantment instead of the story I just told. People have been very afraid to tell this story. I was actually disdainful of the movie for a long time because of this. I said, they cheated. Then, 2 months ago, I performed the first part of this at the Simple Gifts Festival, which was actually done right out that door. I put up the piano right there by the door. And I said, oh boy, I can't do this story in mixed company. Just because somebody might say, what are you, gay? Or, the whole, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm more sympathetic to those people. So you begin to see how the Oz problem develops. This book has been doubly and triply banned if The Wizard of Oz has only been singly banned, which it has. The great writer Gore Vidal, in a 1967 essay in the New York Review of Books, said that parent-teacher associations around the country went into plenary session, which basically means all hands on deck when presented with this book. The thought of telling little boys that they might actually be enchanted little girls was unthinkable, and it still is to this day. Yet somehow Frank Baum, who was in an easy position to do a Dorothy sequel, set off in his own direction, telling the story of a boy who already lived in Oz and what eventually became of him. And thus, this opera, I finally had to write it. It brought back an awful lot of things. It's haunted me for a long time. There are other people who are beginning to do some of these stories, though the trouble with so many modern adaptations, as you know, is they're modern. There's gore and there's blood and there's blood and me. And I love the spirit of Baum, and I've tried to preserve the spirit of Baum. It's modern. It sounds like, as you were saying, it sounds a bit like Lloyd Webber or Sondheim. That's intentional to some extent. I do love that musical language. I hope it's not too dissonant, is it?
No.
Good. That's wonderful to see, because I'm getting tired of dissonant music. So many of my colleagues, they do that. I did a little of that in my time. In any case, I do want to say a couple more things before I give you a little slideshow, and then I'll let you go. And now, a lot of people in the trans community actually value this story very much, because it's like, to them, it's a story of self-realization. It's obvious, but and it's an unusual story. I can think of only 2 other stories in the main literature that deal with actual gender transformation. Usually it's like Viola in Twelfth Night by Shakespeare, where she hides as a boy and then she undresses and becomes the girl at the end. Right? This is very different, because I've had some arguments with people who say, well, this is just a trouser roll. This is more than a trouser roll. This is a gender transformation. So it's important for me to say that I see this because I'm not a trans person, I see this as a kind of a reverse trans story. That a cisgendered heterosexual boy, he had no knowledge of who he really was, but he was just a guy. He has to deal with this fact. And I treat the characters associated as such because Ozma, it turns out, is never going to be fully comfortable in her skin. Tip never goes away figuratively. You'll see in a moment he goes away literally. And she has to continually deal with this. And that's what made this such interesting drama, Something that has just been explored almost never out of fear, whatever, testosterone. But it's rich, rich dramatic territory.